Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Bowman here, and today we are continuing our playthrough of Planescape Torment. And we are going to be talking to Dak'kon because I feel like he knows a little bit about our past that he's not really letting on.
What is your will?
When Fel was describing the tattoo on my arm, you said you knew the symbols. The symbols speak of four you have traveled with in the past. What four are
Updated my
these?
journal.
The tattoo speaks of four minds. One was a woman who loved a man who knew her and knew not love. The other was a blind man who saw things no mortal eye could see. Another was a familiar, a mage's pet, bought and bound. And the last was a slave. In which one of them was you, Dak'kon? Were you the slave? Dak'kon is silent for a moment, and the surface of his blade swims as if in turmoil. Know that this one owed you a service, and in owing this to you, it became as slavery. How did this come to be? No, the tale is long. The matter is between me and the other that was once you. Know that if you hear it, know it shall be a long tale. I would hear it. Upon the rolling plain of limbo, the people shape cities from the chaos with their thoughts. Know that there is no place for a divided mind. Dak'kon raises the blade from his shoulder and holds it before him. As he stares at it, sharpens until it is almost as thin as a piece of paper. A divided mind is an unfocused mind. A divided mind fractures walls and weakens stone. As Dak'kon speaks, the edges of his blade corrode slightly, the metal misting and melting along the edges. Many divided minds may destroy a city. Long have I known the words of Zermathan. Through my voice, many have come to know the words of Zermathan. The Zerth protect the community from all threats, whether be to the body or to the mind. They are the guiding stones in the chaos. So it came to pass that I spoke the words of Zermathan without knowing the words. It came to pass that I no longer knew myself. So you doubted the words? No. Dak'kon's voice is edged and his blade sharpens in response. I knew the words, yet it came into my heart that perhaps others did not know the words as Zermathan knew them. And so division formed. As my mind became as two, as my mind became as divided, those that looked at me a guiding stone became divided. Many scores of Githzeri, many hundreds of scores of Githzeri doubted. Shar-Kator died that day. So those that followed you came to doubt the words as well, and the city was weakened. The enemies of Zermathan came. Know that their hatred of his words and the people lent their blade strength. Know that they sensed the weakened city, and they brought war with them. Many Githrizi drowned in the chaos and beneath the blades of our enemies. Small beads of metal appear on the surface of the blade, as if blistering. Know this happened long ago. What happened to you? As I fell from the walls of Shra-Kadlor, know that myself was broken. My blade was missed, my mind divided. I was adrift upon limbo seas, and I wished to drown. I died for days, my mind awash in division, when death finally came to me. It wore your skin, and it had your voice. Me? You asked that I hear you. As Dak'kon says the words, your vision bleeds outwards, and a crawling sensation begins to worm its way through the back of your skull. You feel nauseous for a moment, and your vision is suddenly as chaos smeared twisted as you are someplace else, someplace in the past. Surrender to the memory. Everything around you is in turmoil. Your vision is hazy, swirling, dizzying all at once. There is mist, pockets of fire, islands of mud, stone, and ice-covered rocks swimming through the plain like fish, impacting and dissolving. Droplets of water arching through the howling air and lashing your skin like teeth. You choke back your nausea and you steady yourself. This is the plane of limbo. All is chaos, nothing is stable. You're focused on the dying man that lies before you. It is why you have come to this place. Examine this earth, see if he still lives. The man is a Githzeri, his body embedded in an earthen pocket that swirls around him unconsciously. He has formed a grave from the elements, and though bits of fire and water flick at his face, he does not respond. His hands are ashen, and his coal black eyes focusing on nothing. His emancipated frame speaks of starvation, but you know it is the least of his wounds. It is faith that dealt him the mortal blow. Look for the blade he carries. In his left hand is a twisted mass of metal, its surface having melted around his hand like a gauntlet. As you watch, It steams and hisses like a diseased snake. The Githziri does not seem to be aware of it, but is the weapon that has brought you here. Dak'kon, Zerth of Shruk-Lor, drowning last wielder of the blade, know that I have come to you with the words of Zerthamon, carved not in chaos but in stone, carved by the will of the unbroken circle. As the word Zermathon, Dak'kon's eyes roll in their sockets, and they attempt to focus upon you. With effort he cracks his mouth to speak, but only his dry hiss emerges. You bring forth the stone from your pack and hold it before him so he can see. Know that the words of Zermathan inscribed upon this stone are true, and know that your divided mind need be divided no longer. All you must do is take the stone, and you shall know yourself again. His eyes flicker over the unbroken circle of Zermathan, and for a moment you think he might be too close to death to recognize it. Then the right hand twitches, and he pulls it slowly from its earthen prison. The clumps of earth steaming off of it become water, like Limbo's chaotic winds. His skeletal hands clutch at the stone like a drowning man, and his eyes flash. Know that I have saved your life, Dak'kon Zerth.
Updated my journal.
Dak'kon's eyes turn from the stone and flicker over you, and he hisses again, too dry for a moment to muster the words. He blinks slowly, then speaks, his voice barely above a whisper, but the words are what you wanted to hear. My life is yours until yours is no more. Close your eyes, return to the present. Dak'kon is silent. I heard your words. The chaos in my mind became still. I knew myself again. So you got the circle from me?
Updated my journal.
Yes, in knowing its words, I knew myself. Tell me about that other me, the incarnation you knew. What was he like? Dak'kon gaze travels through you and falls silent.
Updated my journal.
Know that he was different. Know that the differences were not marked on the skin, nor in the way of a weapon, nor in the attire that cloaked him. Know that he was different in the way of thought, in the means he acted upon his thoughts. His will became substance. Know that he saw others and did not see them. He knew only how they could serve him. His heart was treacherous and was cold, and never did its coldness burn him. Did it ever touch you, Dak'kon? Did he betray you? Dak'kon's blade begins bleeding into a dull, flat black as you watch its edges like teeth begin spouting from the edge of the blade. His face clenches and he speaks through his teeth. It is not my will, you know of this. Tell me, Dak'kon, did he ever betray you? No, there were many treacheries. Any treachery upon me was by my hand, no other. Tell me, Dak'kon, what was the treachery? I surrendered my word to him. I surrendered myself.
Updated my journal.
What are you talking about? The people do not allow themselves to be enslaved to another in deed or chains. If we find ourselves in such a cage, we act to free ourselves, even if it means we must endure another cage for a time. You performed a great service for me. In doing so, you enslaved me. I acted to free myself. Know that I surrendered my word and myself to act in your name until your death. But I can't die. That was not known to this one. I surrendered my word to him. I surrendered myself. Know that there is now nothing left that I may surrender except my life. Know that now that I follow you only so I might die. Wow. Excellent, let's move on, slave. Oh my gosh. What was the service I gave you that chained you? You chained this one's life. In exchange, your life became mine. Interesting. There are other things I'd like to know. You said that I once traveled with 4 others. Who were these others? What can you tell me of the 4? The woman was young. She worshipped time, for in her blood she knew of things to come. The archer was a blind man, and he could see things that no other one could see. The path of his arrows always led to the heart of the enemy. The familiar and the slave I know little of. See things to come. The woman's name wasn't Dianara, was it?
Updated my journal.
No, that she was the name she carried. What do you know of the archer? I know little of him. I know he was a soldier. I know that alcohol has taken a portion of his life. In blindness he has come to know a different sight. In knowing this he had become strong, yet he did not know his own strength. Do you know what his name was? Before Dak'kon can respond, you suddenly know the answer. There's a crawling sensation in the back of your skull, and you feel the name surfacing as if beneath a great muddy ocean. His name was why do they gotta make these names? Why can't it just be like, his name was Fred. Boy, his name was Fred. No, it's gotta be like Exacaria. Like it's got like, and the game knows that you want to read it every time that the name comes up, and you gotta sit there for a minute and you gotta think about it because it's. All right, rant over. His name was this. He was blind, but in blindness he had gained a second sight that allowed him to see things hidden to others. He was an archer, and where his arrows flew, they found the hearts of their targets.
Updated my journal.
Know that he was the name he carried, and know that his name pierced the heart of many enemies. Do you know why we were traveling together? Know that the path was known to only you, and it was your will that we not know it. Know that those that walked your path knew only the symbol that bound them. Enough about the symbols. Tell me everything you know about the others on the tattoo. Okay. Other things. Okay, yeah. Teachings. Okay. Never mind. Boys, you don't want none of this smoke.
Die. I'm gone.
Boys, you don't want none of this smoke.
Have you got the kit? Come on in, buy a drink, see the burning man.
We want... Yeah, we want the northeastern portion. Ah. You see, Mork, he's regarding you with a stony gaze. I had some questions for you. I spoke to Farad and discovered where Farad is getting the bodies he brings to you. Where do the bodies he brings to us come from? They come from the catacombs beneath Sigil. He's taking the bodies you have buried and slinging them back to you. When you bury them again, he just digs them up again. And Mork falls silent. He is staring at you with his stony gaze, and you are suddenly struck with the feeling that his eyes are burying into your skull. He nods. You have done a service for the dustman. He removes his hands from his sleeves and lets his long sleeves drape across the table like a curtain. When he pulls them back, a small lapis coffin lies upon the table. It is a tiny thing, barely 2 inches wide and 3 inches long. The dustman's symbols is engraved on the coffin. Pick up the box. As you pick up the coffin, it chirrups, unfolds, and dissolves into a stream of hundreds of copper pieces, which you somehow manage to keep from spilling across the floor of the bar. How all these coins fit into the tiny coffin is beyond you. Okay. Did that. Let's see. You see Phil pays Dustman standing guard over in the front gate. He's staring across the city rooftops with a distant expression. As you approach, he turns to face you. Yes? I'd like to enter the mortuary. What is your purpose within the mortuary? I'm here to see Dahl. You know, it's very well. Follow me. Okay. Let's see. You see a stern-looking man in black robes. He's glaring at you suspiciously. You, state your business. My business is my own. You would do well to mind your own affairs, Dustman. The Dustman's eyes narrow to slits, and his hand falls to the dagger by his side. He looks as if he's about to summon the other guards. Snap his neck. Before the Dustman can utter another word, your hands clap into his temples, and he twists his head sharply to the left. Can't have you alerting your friends. Better you than me, Dusty. Better you than me, Dusty.
I'm gone.
Guess maybe I gotta put these on. I think this is who we're looking for. You see a male corpse with the number 331 chiseled into its skull. His eyes and lips are stitched closed, and there is a gaping hole torn in his throat. He smells foul. The zombie is awkwardly getting his voice back, and he sounds alarmed. Who's there? Answer me. Excuse me. Zakara? Well, you. The zombie seems shocked but glad. By the lady's gaze, his tone takes on a sense of wonder. Aren't you dead, Cutter? Who are you? So it's hard to peel away his filthy shroud and old Zechariah fool beneath. It is I, Cutter. Blessed be the powers. I thought never to see you again, but you've changed too, as far as my ears can tell. Have you been making poor choices again? Zachariah wheezes from his throat hole. Be you dead too? It's a long tale, but no, I'm not dead. Well, Cutter, I suppose being dead's not something one would doubt, though. How can you talk to me? Your voice is as clear as a knife. What are you doing here? I am a stable hand in the most lifeless place of all. Be it that I could pass beyond the internal boundary and have a plane to call my home, but much of my soul was squandered, and now I'm here. What's it like being a zombie? It's honest work. The stitching comes undone from Zachariah's mouth, and his lips peel back in what might be a smile. I care little for it. I had some other questions. What led you to this state? His voice drops as if ashamed. It's a hard path following in your footsteps, Cutter, and many terrible things did I see. I took to drink and became half sodden with the stuff. Once when I was sodding drunk, I signed my body off to the Dusties. Fate decided to kick me when I was down, and I died shortly thereafter. What can you tell me about my previous life? Why, have you forgotten yourself? In a manner of speaking, yes. Well, you were a strange one, always suspicious and watching for something. Reckoned somebody like you had got caught enemies in your lifetimes, and there was no denying that anybody who messed with you ended up back in the chapters of the Dead Book. Anything else? Any specifics? You could be damnably ruthless, too, like when you made me sign that contract or abandon that one muling chit on Avernus. We had a baller of a time as well. None of us ever even entertained the notion to jump ship on your watch, son. I see. What else? Anything you could tell me that would help? At your core, you looked at what happened to you like taking territory in a war. Everything was like a battle to you, and you were the most ruthless bastard I ever near met. Naught else mattered except for solving that goal. Poor Dianara, with her sobbing and pleading with you, don't sway your nose, the gift warning about your struggles, and poor Excaria, just trying to hold on to what we hit the plains. You were tough, like you couldn't die, but we were only human. Now I guess We're all in a dead book, or in and out of it, so to speak. Anything else? You left something when you left us, Cutter. You left Dak'kon without a master, and the skull without a friend. Me, you stabbed something so deep inside me it never came out when I was alive. Caused my blood to run cold, it did. That thing sitting like a lump of lead in my chest. What is it? I don't know, but it changed me somehow. Changed my insides. I was already dying when you put it in me, so I wasn't too concerned about it at the time. Can I have it back? It's buried pretty deep, but I have an idea where it is. Without a scalpel and some directions from me, you won't be able to get it out. You got a scalpel? No, but I ought to be able to just tear the stitches. Then open me half up and hands width below the sternum and feel around for it. A little more to the left. A little more. Your hand closes in on an object. Pull it out. You pull out a zombie liver. By the lady's gaze. Apologies, Cutter. I thought the dustman took all those organs out of us before pulling us out of the dead book. Give it another go. Maybe it's to the right. There you go. Now go a little bit to the right and back. A little more. You feel something hard and cold? Slightly larger than you expected. I think that's it. Pull it out. You're holding a blackened fist-sized object that is extremely heavy for its size. That's it, all right. Huh, bigger than I thought it'd be. What is that about? Looks like a heart. I think so, yes. I had some other questions. What can you tell me about my previous companions? A motley crew. We were a half-dead man who couldn't get himself penned in the dead book if he tried. So ugly all the powers of death wouldn't take him. A wheeling advocate's daughter, a Gith exile, a bobbing jackal-tongue skull, and a half-sodden blind archer like myself. Gith? Grim-looking Gith, unfriendly and silent like all of their kind. Didn't trust that Gith a lick. I didn't see Cutter them. Spindly Giths are only about two things: keeping out of slavery and killing them squid-heading Ithiliids. Everything else is just lower down the slope and didn't give a damn about any of us other than you. Why was that? One of the darks I never did bring to light, Cutter. Perhaps you can tell me. Wheeling advocate's daughter? That feisty chit who would be soldier swore she'd follow you to Bator and back, and by the power she was so addled by the thought of you without her, she did just that. Cared little for me, the Gith, and a bare little it was. She was wild with heart, passion for you, she was. Proof she was barmy. I don't understand what the woman folks saw in you scared mug, but it set their blood aboil. She was some rich skunt from the clerk's ward, and you needed something from her, and the only price was that she came with you. What did I want from her? One of the darks I never did bring to light, Cutter. Whoops. A floating skull? That filthy darkened skull was hankering for a bruising, so it was. Always smarting off it was, and making fun of my condition. But my other companions? You? You were a blind archer? That I was. You truly have forgot, haven't you? All men see with more than their eyes, Cutter. Some of them better than others. I sensed the hearts of my foes, your foes, and my arrows always struck true. Ah, those were the times. I've heard enough. Farewell. Before you go, I need you to do me a slight favor, Cutter. What is it? His voice drops as if ashamed. I made some mistakes, some damned bad ones to be sure, and one of my biggest was signing that dustman contract. If I hadn't been so sodden with Bub, I never would have done it. I regret it, and I was hoping you could set it all right. How? Well, I reckon this body's gonna last a long time, and every day's too long to me. Could you maybe gut me again, Cutter, for old time's sake? The thought of spending another batch of years here in the mortuary with these white faces is a mighty cold one. Can you see fit to put me back in the dead book where I belong? If that is your wish. You gut him, and he falls to the floor with a heavy thud. There is a faint hiss from the body, and you see the chest heave once, and then a faint rattle. The corpse goes silent. Rest in peace. Blackened fist-sized object looks more like a lump of burned charcoal than his heart. It is extremely heavy for its size, and cracks run across it. Its surface, it looks like it might break into two at any moment. Handling it leaves strange rust-colored streaks in your hands that won't come off. Interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll end this episode here. Very interesting. Every single episode, it seems like we get a little bit more information, and it's like it's becoming pretty interesting. So yeah, thank you so much for continuing this playthrough with me. As always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and we'll see you all in the next one.